All right, so I'm here with Alysia, who is an actual architect. Like when I told another person that I'm going to interview an architect, he thought it was like she was a software architect.
Real architect.
Yeah, actual architect. Okay, and yeah, tell us a bit more about yourself and what brings you here.
Yes, I'm an architect. I have been working in construction, robotics, digital fabrication for the last 15 years. And I'm the founder of the Circular Factory, which is we create microfactories that are flexible, agile, and specialize in bringing digital technologies to SME players in the construction industry. Having working on that project in the context of startup cities and new cities, and how can they be developed through modern methods of construction for the last 5 years.
All right, and how has that been going?
Has been good, has been an exciting kind of development. We have our first proof of concept microfactory working for 2 years now in Prospera, within the jurisdiction of Prospera. And we are now working in Circular Factory 2 and in developing more microfactories.
Awesome. And and the this is the last three, okay. So let's talk about the topic of ecological sustainability in buildings. So I know you work a lot with wood, and like usually buildings are criticized for working a lot with lime and like this process of like how this has an effect on the environment. So yeah, let's talk about the sustainability in building, and also wanted to ask you about Earthships and how can this kind of thing, can it be applied to bigger buildings, or is it more like something that can be applied only to like smaller homes?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the way that we look at sustainability in the context of like microfactories is the idea of building with like local materials and local labor, local skills. And that when a lot of the conversation in buildings and sustainability are focused on the building material, what the material is built of, like it's like a concrete versus timber or earth or like these kind of conversations. However, when you think about like bringing all of those material, right? Like the carbon footprint of logistics, of transport, of freight, of like bringing stuff over is something that is not thought or not talked about so much, but it's definitely impacts on the carbon footprint when we talk about the full production of the building. So that is something where we are really looking at improve. So we do the circular factory is focused on timber fabrication, but we're also looking at like concrete 3D printing, at other methods of advanced construction, but with a real focus on localization, on having materials that could be locally sourced and locally produced. And for us, that is where we really try to tackle sustainability and efficiency. And it's something that we have to enable in our processes, like account for like variation, account for like the different properties, different material properties, different species, different ways of like treating wood, for example, which is very different in Canada, where we're doing the circular factory too, like from Honduras. So, but we have to account for all of that on the redundancy of the system, because otherwise, like what we don't want to make with the microfactory is to be tied to an existing chain of suppliers, and that is something that a lot of the times happens in like factory produced housing or like prefabricates, and it implies that although the production may be very efficient and very sustainable, transportation costs and imports, moving things around, have a high cost that a lot of times is neglected. So I think that is a very important consideration into new cities and new housing modes, and something that we are really trying to focus on beyond just what the material it is, but having to have a holistic picture of how things are done.
Right. So it makes it cheaper and it makes it more sustainable. It's just like, yeah, you don't need all the shipping and the externalities of that.
It makes it cheaper, and it definitely makes it more sustainable. Maybe you're using concrete, but if there is a country where it's locally sourced, or you have the limestone, or you have a fly ash, or you have a history of the material, there is nothing. It is more expensive if you're bringing a new material from abroad that is not even local, as opposed to engaging with the local material. So that is what we try to add, that kind of redundancies to be able to deal with those different constraints.
Right. And so, like, if in Honduras there weren't so many trees, and instead there was like a lot of clay, would you be working more with like 3D printing housing with
Correct.
clay? Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely right. And at the beginning of Circular Factory, we were planning to have like we were organizing the shop so we could have a 3D printing robot. Eventually, Honduras happened to be a place that there is no real concrete. All of it has imported. They imported from China mainly, so it is quite a big cost to be bringing the concrete. And they do have they do use it, but the local material is that they have in a more larger supply spine. So we thought, okay, we're going to pivot and try to see if we can use the materials that they have. They also have a lot of precious woods like mahoganies and teaks that are also local to the context. So how can we embrace that material and also use it in ways that kind of highlight the beauty and the honesty of the material? And that is a real focus of the effort. But for example, in our digital platform, in our cyber physical platform, we also have the 3D printing capabilities. So like if we do CF2 has more access to concrete limestone, then we are going to do more of 3D printing. So for us, that the main key is the flexibility and agility of incorporating different processes.
And then, yeah, you talked a lot about using robots in like cutting wood and yeah, whatever else. So yeah, I wanted to ask you more about like how much of the building process can be automated with like either 3D printing or like robots cutting wood, and how big of a cost saving can that be?
Yeah, I think that we use robots for two different reasons, or in two dimensions. So one dimension is definitely the ability to be able to produce more evocative, efficient structures, right? That have curvature, that we know that their geometry is more efficient, so it saves more material than if it was like a orthogonal or like a traditional house. So the robots enable us to make that communication from the 3D model to that 3D reality, when the shapes, like without molds, without formwork, right, enable us to do that in a more efficient way. So we have cost savings in like jigs. I mean, we still have to do jigs, but in like molds and formwork that you will otherwise have to do. So that's one way of like that we utilize robots. Of course, they also enable us higher levels of precision in terms of like for joinery, for all the milling, for the cutting, where you don't have to be doing the same process 2 or 3 times, like measuring, cutting, etc. But also they also offer us an opportunity for upskilling and for like reskilling the locals, which is something that not only in the case of like, for example, a Prospera, where you can say, well, it has like a labor that needs to be trained, but also in other countries that are very more advanced countries like Canada, there is still a need for reskilling and for people to learn how to work with new methods of construction. So the robots bring the efficiencies to the job, but also brings excitement to the job. And something that we also see is that people, a lot of young people, they don't want to join the construction industry. They don't see any advantages. They don't see any interesting thing. They kind of find it a bit boring, a bit dangerous. When we have the robots, robotic systems, we can bring more people into the construction industry, which I think like almost every other city in the world or country has like a housing crisis. Like Canada has a housing crisis, the US, the UK. So at some point, if no one is wanting to join the construction industry, who is going to build all of the houses and all of the buildings that we need? So that is the other aspect where we really embed technology and think that by making construction industry a technology industry, we can get young people excited, we can get more uptake, and we can actually build better, more efficiently, faster, but also we can get more people into the business.
Right, that makes sense. And you also talked about how like these prefabrication factories are usually these big places that require a lot of upfront investment. And I guess like if you're using robots, it still requires investment. But you talked about microfactories, and yeah, you talked a lot about using like reskilling local workers. Uh, yeah, how much does it cost to build like a microfactory and start producing, I guess, in a place, let's say, a place where there's wood?
Yeah, like I mean, like the microfactory, we're keeping. We have designed it for the maximum flexibility to have the minimum amount of machines that we need to create all of the workflows. Like for different components, like we have the housing, the bamboo housing. We also have produced like louvers. We're also producing glamping cabins. So we are keeping the investment between $200 to $250,000, and that in, and for and all of the machines are like. Industrial machines that you can buy. So we are so they have all the warranties on all of the equipment. What we have innovation is on the end effectors, all the end of tools for the robots, and all the workflows configurations and the software, so that we can implement the whole setup in like 2 months. You can have a whole microfactory up and running with our system, with our digital platform, and you can start producing. So it's a low capital investment compared to other maybe 5-axis CNC fabrication machines that could be 500,000 just one machine, and you can have the setup. And also through the digital platform, we are trying to lower the skill level, the entry level for using the machines. So we have fully trained people that are using the robots in a couple of months, fabricating the pieces. So we're trying to lower the space requirements. Like the whole microfactory is set up in 500 square meters. So we reduce the space requirements, reduce the capital investment on the machines, and reduce the learning curve for using the machines. And those are like the three objectives that we have to make it more accessible for SMEs and small medium contractors.
Right. Yeah, and you have all those like already have like also the some of the architectural plans and everything is already like part of the package in a way. So if somebody wanted to build a microfactory and work with you to build it, what would the process be like?
So we get involved from early stages with architects. That we are working like see what is the requirements of the project, so that we can be sure that the setup will work for them. Or sometimes like if machines have to be flipped around, because you need to consider that it's not only where you put the machine, but you need to put all the jigs. You need to put all the setup for this to be bent, for this to be curved. So we need to have a setup like a work area, workspaces, and jigs that have to be around. So we need to be sure that that works. Then we set up and we also take the project and put it through our platform to create all the G code and all the design for fabrication, basically design for manufacturing, files, and workflows. And then that will enable us to set up the microfactory and to have the geometry into our system for being fabrication. Now, once that is set up, if the same contractor, the same community wants to build something else, that only will go through the platform and we can build it. So in the case, for example, of the circular factory, we have demonstrated the range of capabilities from like we created louvers for a high-rise tower, so all the facade louvers. We then did furniture for a hotel. Now we are doing glamping cabins. So there is really I aim for flexibility on the platform. It's not like you buy the microfactory and you can only do a single thing. It's that we can enable you to create and to have enough customization, enough variation for the people that are going to be using the city, right? We kind of think that each of us is different, and so all of our houses, all of our things should be different. So we want to enable that capability.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so overall, would people would need like a few $100,000 and let's say some amount of time, like a few months to get it all up and running.
Yes. So that's what we need. And some of the things that we have been discussing with other communities is like, can this be like community led, or maybe the community can self-organize and put the money together, can then get the factory, so that eventually we don't want to be operating factories or be like like kind of like doing that. We can offer all the services of maintenance, of support, of tech support, of implementation support, of geometry support, but that this could be part of the community, be owned by the community, by the local contractors, by the nations. So like how can so it's they are the proprietors, and they kind of work with it. So that is the ultimate goal.
Right, I love it. And yeah, what kind of recommendation would you make to the Switzerland community if they want to like in building a permanent hub here in Switzerland?
I think that I mean it's a super fascinating what the Switzerland community is doing. I will say like the focus on how will they build it and how will they customize it, what will it be made of. I think is very important. Like I mean, when you see all of these, a lot of the network cities, and you see a lot of the imagery that comes with them, right? Everyone has these beautiful visions of like how will they look like, and I can see the vision of Switzerland is like these domes and this like beautiful architecture. So I think that it's important that we think of like new cities that captivate that spirit and create that spirit, because we like I mean we want to have entrepreneurs, we want to have people that want to live in those kind of spaces, and it's very easy to kind of get sidetracked by only the tech and then like end up having like a city that looks like every other city, which I can see from the very beginning is not the vision of any of the new network cities that are being created. So it's important that we involve in fabrication, that we involve ways of making, ways of building from the very beginning. I also think that ways of building, making also brings people together. Like we get together, you build something, and you do that on the online, like when people are do hackathons. But can we also have like hackathons for physical creation, where
Right.
people can come together, build a structure? You know, you're all lifting, you're all sweating. It also creates a community spirit that is really a shared experiences. So I think it will be it's something that I will say don't forget about.
Right. And so with your processes, people could like start learning and get involved. Like even if they have zero experience in construction work, they could still like start contributing in a
Yes.
few months.
Yeah, currently in the circular factory, we do have a lot of people that have like zero experience that have joined us, that are working with us now. They have been for us for like 1 or 2 years. We have people from like that have come to the in the case of we're in Prospera, right, that has come to the island to explore, just to see what is going on, and international people. But we also have locals that are, for example, mothers that have like that never worked before, and now they want a bit of independence, they want to learn something new, and we also get them. So we really have a range of people working with us, which is very exciting. But also to see the stories of social stories of a lot of the people that are in our group, in our community, of how they are like learning new skills, or they are kind of finding stuff that they had never had a job before. So definitely something that we encourage and that we are trying to create, not for all kind of like low skill workers, high skill workers, people that want to retrain, people that want to learn something new, that are just curious. So really kind of we have a range of people with us.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Well, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for the invitation. Fantastic.